Hello, everybody. This is my Sourcefed Movie Club review for the movie Edward Scissorhands, and I'm just gonna come out and say it. I am not a fan of this movie. I'm probably gonna be in the minority on this, but I watched it. I tried liking this movie, but I just couldn't. And I want to start with the good aspects of this movie because once I start going on the bad, it's just gonna keep going. Uh, the best thing about this movie, the one thing that saves this movie is Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp does a great job as Edward Scissorhands. He really makes you feel for him throughout this entire movie. He is a completely sympathetic character. He's the only one that is a sympathetic character in this movie. But if there's anything that could have been done better in this, I would have liked to see more of the backstory with him and Vincent Price. Because, you see Vincent Price creating Edward, teaching him manners, being polite, showing him the hands right before he dies, but why is he creating Edward? I mean, that's never really given, and I would have liked to see that rather than the first half of the movie, which is essentially a family finding a new pet and then showing him off, which I just wanted to fast forward through it, but I didn't for some reason. And the only other good part of this movie was the set design. And I'm going to go up by saying maybe it's because I've seen so many of his movies, but I'm not a huge fan of Tim Burton's set design. Like, I don't really like the nonsensical quirkiness of it. I don't really like the quirky aspect that he puts on a set design, but it really does stand out. And I have to give him props for that. The solid pastel colors, not just for like the houses and everything, but also on the people, really makes them stand out. And even though I'm not a huge fan of it, I have to say it was all right in this movie. And now to the main problems I had. I had two main problems with this movie. The first one is pretty much everyone that is not Edward. I think the only characters that I actually liked in this movie outside of Edward were, I think, the father and the son. That's it. Everyone else in this movie is just a moron. Let's start off with the mother who started this whole ordeal. One, by deciding, hey, let's go to the abandoned mansion to see if there's anyone I can sell beauty shit to. And then she finds Edward after trespassing onto the property, essentially kidnaps Edward and forces him to live with them. And then she realizes, oh, I made a mistake after he got arrested for burglary. Then you have the teenage daughter who I don't even know why she fell in love with Edward. I mean, there wasn't really anything poignant there. And she's so passive where it's like, no, we shouldn't make Edward do this. Stop it. No. And then she just go ahead and ask Edward to do that stuff anyway. Uh, then you have all the other women who apparently just want to fuck Edward for some reason. Hell if I know why. And they pretty much just act out like snooty bitches the entire time anyway. And then the two male characters I had problems with were the boyfriend, who I guess he was pretty intimidating and he was a pretty good douchebag, but I just couldn't get over the fact that that was the nerd from the Breakfast Club. So he was intimidating and everything, but I just couldn't take him in completely seriously. And then there is a police officer where he does a good job most of the movie, but then that ending scene where he shoots up in the air and lets Edward, live in the mansion, tries to let him, live alone like he was in the beginning. But then he's like, oh, no, don't worry about it. Everything's fine. And then he just leaves. Because as we all know, a crowd surrounding an area they're just going to disperse after the cop says, no, everything's fine. Don't worry about it. And then the huge problem I have with this movie is the epilogue, the ending of this movie. First off, the teenage daughter, Winona Ryder, she says, that, oh, those two killed themselves fighting. Why didn't she just come out and admit that, hey, the boyfriend was trying to kill him, he was going to attack me, Edward saved me? No, instead it's just like, oh, they just killed each other. Who cares? And then the huge problem I have with this, like I said, the epilogue. Winona Ryder's like 50, 60 years older now. She's a grandmother. And she says, oh, I haven't gone and seen Edward in 60 years. Are you fucking kidding me? Alright, first off, why did nobody search the mansion after Anthony Michael Hall, the boyfriend, got killed? I mean, that makes absolutely no sense to me. I mean, I get the one cop that was trying to protect Edward, but no other cop looked around that house. Really. Secondly, in like the 50, 60 years since that happened, nobody has gone to that mansion at all. Like, not even like little kids going there on a dare or something. That made no sense to me. And third, she didn't go to the mansion. All right, like she didn't wait for everything to blow over, then decide one day, hey, I'm gonna go to the mansion and see the guy that I love. And even then, she's acting like a total bitch. Oh, I don't want him to see me now. I want him to remember me as I was. If he truly loves you, he's gonna love you no matter how you look. Like I said, this is a huge rant. It's probably gone on too long anyway. I would not recommend this movie. This just seems like another crappy romance movie to me. There are a ton of other better romance movies out there. So even though the set design looks nice and Johnny Depp does a really good job, that is not enough to save this movie.